We're here with another episode of the Life Mod Podcast. I'm Andrew Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by Dr. Gonzalez, the founder, the creator of Life Mod. How you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
Great. It was a nice trip here. We're back in the office here in New York City, and today we're going to be talking about different types of diets people join, different types of programs people join,
right?
And why it doesn't work for the long term. And I'm going to be a little vague here when I say it doesn't work for the long term, because I know plenty of people that have joined. I'm not going to name names, but they've joined diet programs or these nutritional programs, and they stick to it, and it works, and they lose a tremendous amount of weight. But the second they come off of it, everything slowly comes back. Right. I was one of these people. I did the Atkins diet for a while, and I also did. I can't remember the one. It was based off of Atkins, essentially. And it was a program where you would get the food delivered every day to your house. There was food there, and that's what you would eat.
Oh, they were delivering the food to your house?
Food, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I guess it would come once a week on a Sunday, and you would get the week's worth of food, and you would go based on that.
Right.
So you had everything from, some days you had steak, and other days you just had, like, cabbage.
Now, how did they decide what kind of food to send you?
They went based on this program that they had created.
Okay. Did you answer questions and stuff?
Yeah, no.
Interesting.
There were no questions. This was their standard thing that you did for 3 months, and they guaranteed that you would lose 20-something pounds.
Interesting.
Which it kind of worked. Right? But the food was awful. It was disgusting. Some days you had something decent, but most of the time everything was bland. And it really didn't work, because I went on it and I lost some weight, and after, a couple months, everything came right back. That's actually a little bit better than the other programs where people go on, like the smoothie stuff.
Right.
They're substituting everything with a smoothie.
The HCG diet, which is like the 500 calorie
the 500 calorie a day, or people that are counting points. Everything is a point. Why don't these?
My favorite one, is
one?
the little container one, right? The little color coded.
Oh, the color coded, yeah.
And you're like, you can eat whatever the blue container has for today, whatever.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And because what you have created is an individual program for the individual,
right?
Because you go through a questionnaire, and you go through blood work, and you see what'll work for you. We know why yours works, but let's talk about why some of these other programs don't work, and what goes wrong when people sign up for these.
Sure, that's a really good question, because I think that's why LifeMod is completely different. Well, I don't think I know that's why it's completely different. If you look at how people, why people are overweight or why people are not healthy, and the why people join a diet plan or a diet, whatever program, it's because they want to lose weight. They feel like they've come to this part in their life where they're not healthy, they're not feeling well, and they feel like they're overweight.
And it takes a while to get there.
It takes a while to get there.
People, yeah.
Usually it doesn't, to happen overnight, but sometimes. At some points, someone realizes, oh my God, I've been very unhealthy and I need to get healthier and I have to lose weight. So the reason people look at these diets, and you just named a few, I don't really want to name any of them, but maybe we should, I guess it doesn't matter, right? If we just name some of the few ones that you just said, Atkins.
Yeah, sure.
If you know anything about LifeMod, and I know you do, Andrew, you know that we are not a program that likes to generalize. We do not generalize, and that's what makes us different from everybody else out there. Our program is completely individualized, and the reason that these other programs don't work is because nothing is individualized. The programs will work for a while. People join Atkins, for example. I'm just going to talk about Atkins for a little bit, because Atkins is no-carb diet, right? So if you or I or anyone all of a sudden eats no carbs, your body goes into what's called a ketosis. Okay, so we're producing ketones in our body because we're no longer breaking carbs down from food that we're eating. We're actually just breaking fat. So 100% of people, I shouldn't say 100%, but like close to 100% of people will lose weight on the Atkins diet.
Yeah, sure.
They'll lose weight.
Yeah, but here's my question. What if you don't eat a lot of carbs to begin with?
Right. Well, this is why these diets don't work, because they work for a little while because you're shocking your body into something new. But the reason that it doesn't keep working is because the issue of sustainability. How sustainable is that diet, right?
Yeah.
So if you go into the Atkins diet, for example, you're not to eat any carbs. You're gonna lose weight, obviously. Most people do, and then there's gonna come a point where you are going to have to start eating again. Otherwise, you won't. You can't sustain that diet. You can't sustain no carbs forever. And so once that happens, you're gonna go back to your old sort of habits, and you're gonna not only gain all that weight back, but you're gonna gain more weight back. So we call that gain that weight back plus some. And in the scheme of research and the scheme of how things work in longevity, you're gonna actually end up causing more harm.
Is it because you're technically your metabolism isn't working as hard to kind of burn that fat and burn whatever you're putting in, where now because you've taken out so much carbs, the second you start having carbs, your body doesn't really know how to react to it?
That's part of it. But you have to remember, think about it. You are Andrew, right? Andrew, you have your own habits every single day. These habits are sort of a summation of your whole life, from when you were little, how you were raised, your own kind of do's and don'ts in your own life, things that you've tried, so these are your lifestyle habits. When you wake up in the morning until you go to bed, you have a series of habits, lifestyle habits that are particular to Andrew, unique or they're very unique, obviously. And so when you go into these diets, you're not changing the lifestyle. You're not changing the habits. And so what happens is that, again, you'll lose the weight, you'll feel better for a little while, and then at some point you're going to go back to those habits. What LifeMod does is we actually look at your lifestyle lifestyle habits, and create changes on those that are going to be permanent changes, so that you're now going to get healthier and live longer, not because we are restricting something or because we're giving you something extra, but because you, from the core, change your life. And that's the difference.
So let's talk about the point counting, diets like that. What goes wrong with that?
What do you mean? Which you mean like one of the points?
One of the programs.
Yeah,
one of the programs where you do the points.
Well, first of all, if you've looked at that, and I'm a physician, it's very confusing. I don't know how even people keep up with that, because what you have to count calories, and some of them are like, if it's this food group, it's 5 points. If it's that food group, the problem with that is my description of what a food is might be different than what your description from a food is.
How do you maintain? I mean, even if you're eating out, right? How do you count the calories of what you just ordered? You may go and you may think you're eating something healthy, like a grilled chicken, right? But you don't know what they put in that grilled chicken. You don't know how it was marinated. You don't know. How many ounces that thing is. So it's very difficult to count.
What oil it was cooked.
What kind of oil it was cooked in. So it's very difficult to add up the calories.
I'll give you. That's perfect, because if you cook for example, a chicken breast on olive oil, as opposed to corn oil, the calorie count is going to be massively different.
Sure.
And so now you're having a grilled chicken sandwich or whatever from a place that cooked it in olive oil. It's going to be a lot less calories.
It's going to be a lot less. Olive oil.
So this point restrictions, point counting, calorie restriction, all this stuff, I'm kind of putting them all together because all these programs are so funny to me. They really are. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to venture to say that all these programs have done more for the human disease in our culture than they've done good.
In what way?
Well, we get into these points, into these situations where people start to yo-yo diet. They feel like they're doing well, but they lose all the weight, and then again, it's not sustainable because these programs are not getting to the core of the person's lifestyle and habits, and those people will stop doing that 6 months. Research, by the way, has said the average length of time that people actually start a diet and end it is 2 months. That's
8 weeks.
8 weeks. Some people go, a year, but most people kill it in a couple of weeks.
Well, I mean, the reason for that I think is because you see the most gains in 8 weeks.
Yeah,
within the first 2 weeks, you're dropping all the water weight. Everything is just getting out of you.
Right.
Because you're shocking your system.
Right.
So after 8 weeks, why does it fail? Is it because people are just not seeing progress, or is it that they feel good and they look good and they're like, well, I did this, I could cheat today?
It's not that one. It's not what it is that, and it's actually, I'm gonna correct you on a little bit on that. It's actually less. The average amount of time that people are on a diet is 8 weeks, but it's within the 4 weeks, the first 4 weeks of you going on the Atkins diet, for example, or paleo, you will lose weight. You lose a lot of weight and you feel a lot better. But the problem is that on week 5, you're not losing as much weight anymore. And on week 6, you start thinking, well, I kind of can't sustain this. Again, the issue of sustainability. I can't keep this on for that long. So at week 5 or 6 or whatever, you start to say, no, I can't really. I mean, I'm fine. I've lost weight. I'm going to be fine. So you stop it. You go back to your old habits. We are creatures. We're creatures of habit, right?
Yeah.
We it's very difficult to do something that drastic and keep on it.
And the problem isn't that people just stop. They go, okay, well, I've done well. I've dropped 20 pounds. I'm gonna go eat an entire pie myself. I'm gonna get pizza. I'm gonna get buffalo wings. I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna binge eat and try to put this on. It doesn't work like that. It's a slow thing,
right?
Maybe instead of having grilled chicken, you're having breaded chicken. Instead of having a salad, you're having pasta or rice on the side. So you're adding stuff back in,
right?
And over time, you
That's
go
right.
back to where you were.
That's right. And I'll give you another good example, too, of why, I'm LifeMod is totally against generalization. I think we've said this before. I've definitely told you before. There are people who are allergic to meat, for example. Oh, actually, before we say meat, let me give you a good example. Just recently, 2 weeks ago, we had a member who joined, and 54-year-old male, pretty good shape. He's gotten to the point where he was feeling tired. He wasn't having as much sexual energy with his wife. He felt like he was getting a little bit central obesity.
Sure.
So, kind of like that tire feeling. And he was constantly tired. He heard about LifeMod, joined the program. And just to give you a little background here on this guy, he had started a couple of weeks before, actually almost a month before, has started a new sort of diet plan. He started going to the gym more. He was working out more. He started to eat wheat bread more and got onto this, like, we would get up in the morning and eat 2 eggs, egg whites. And so he had gone on this new program. He was feeling okay, but still wasn't there yet. So he joined LifeMod. Part of what we do with LifeMod, on top of that questionnaire about you, we ask you questions about you. When do you get up? What kind of foods do you like? Do you eat to live or live to eat? All these things that are about you, Andrew, right? It's you. The way you answer that question is very important for me. The way this gentleman answered the questions was very important. We did that with him. He was impressed. We gave him a prescription for blood work. What we do at LifeMod, as part of a huge panel that we do, is that we check for allergy panel. And this is allergy, not environmental allergies, but allergies within your stomach to see if you're allergic to any foods. Turns out this gentleman was allergic to wheat bread and was allergic to egg whites.
And he probably substituted. He was having a lot of egg whites and a lot of wheat bread.
That's what he. Yeah. The last 2 weeks prior to me meeting him, that's what he had done. He thought he was being healthy. Think about this, guys. He thought he was being healthy, and that's why the Atkins or the paleo or any of those don't work, because I get members who are allergic to meat. And when I tell you allergy, it's not like they eat it and then
they blow up. Yeah.
No. This is a GI allergy. This means that you're not absorbing the meat well. You're not absorbing the wheat bread well. And so when you switch to a program like this, because it's very general and it's not Andrew specific or it's not Mr. So-and-so specific, you're not gonna do well on them, and you're not gonna feel good. And this is what really bugs me about that. Not only are you not going to feel well and you're not going to lose weight, but it might be killing you. It goes against why you're trying to be healthy. The reason I created LifeMod, the reason people join LifeMod is to extend their life. It's life extension, but it's life extension of healthful years. We don't want to give you 120 years of life if the last 20 years are going to be going to the doctor, injecting yourself with insulin, you're, diabetic, you got some digit amputated.
Yeah.
We're talking about extending healthful years, living to 95, 97, 100, where you're still walking, you're still exercising, you're still doing whatever you want to do, and you're living life to its fullest. Again, going back to this gentleman, when he heard that, he's like, This is unbelievable to me. I can't believe that I'm allergic to wheat bread. And he now, so this was, we met him about 2 months ago. I told him, stop eating wheat bread, stop eating egg whites, which is completely against what you hear, right?
Don't eat whole white.
Right.
Go to wheat or a different type of bread. I mean,
exactly.
You can substitute with many different types of bread.
He stopped eating wheat bread, and I just saw him actually a couple days ago. He has lost weight. Not that he was really overweight, but he's lost weight, and he feels so energetic.
He feels better.
Oh, my God. I mean, from just the energy level to having more sexual energy, the reasons why he came to LifeMod, he now knows his body. Knowing thyself is so important in this.
So let's take a minute and talk about allergies when it comes to food, because when people think, if I were to tell someone, I'm allergic to wheat bread,
right,
or I'm allergic to egg whites, the automatic reaction is, well, what happens when you eat that? But that's not what you're talking about here. And I don't think a lot of people are aware of this, and I'm really curious about this. How do we figure out that we're allergic to things? How often does this happen to people? Is this a common occurrence and we just don't know that we're allergic to certain things that we're eating every single day?
Yes, the answer to that is absolutely yes. You do not know until you do this blood work, because there are by the way, GI allergies, what I measure are allergy sensitivities or GI sensitivities. And we look for peanut, sesame seeds, wheat bread, oats, grains, egg whites, milk, all sorts of, sort of not only the nuts and dairy, but like meats and all that. There are class 1 through 7 allergy, okay? Think about this. Class 1 allergy to a peanut, for example, is a very slight allergy. It means that if you eat, you can eat peanuts, and you probably won't feel like your throat is closing up. But you are not digesting the peanut well because there's an allergy to it in your stomach.
Okay.
So instead of helping you, it's not helping you to eat peanuts at all because you're not absorbing it.
So what is it doing? What's the harm that it's causing?
Well, very good question. It's creating an inflammatory response in your GI tract. In other words, the body is recognizing it as a non-self dietary, sort of whatever food that is causing harm. So the body immediately tries to get rid of it by mounting an inflammatory response. And all of you out there know that the problem with early death and disease is inflammation. Inflammation, as good as it might be for us, if we got a tendon that just got partially torn or whatever, you need a little inflammation. But a general inflammation, which by the way we measure on our lab work through a lab critical value known as ESR and CRP, if you have generalized inflammation in your body, it's killing you. It's not good.
It's not good.
Not good. So that's what we have antioxidants and all those mineral chelators and stuff that we take as supplements, because you don't want a level of inflammation in your body. And so when you eat these foods that your stomach is allergic to, even if it's a class 1 allergy, which you wouldn't know because
you're not feeling it. It's not necessarily impacting you where you're going to say, well, oh my God, I had peanuts and now I'm tired.
Right. No, it would be one of these general complaints of, I just don't feel right. I'm fatigued generally. What's going on? That's why the program works, because people come to me and say, I'm just really blah. I don't feel good. Something's going on. And I don't do anything miraculous. I just get blood. And I ask you questions about your body and yourself. And when we do your blood work and it comes out that you're allergic to peanuts, and you eat them all the time, there's, to me, no surprise that you're tired because you're not at optimum health.
And we're not just talking about, the peanut or the fruit allergies. There are people allergic to vegetables.
Oh, there's vegetables, there's seafood, there's nuts, there's types of grains. We do a huge panel. And maybe one of the segments when we do one of our podcast shows, we should maybe talk about what we do, what we kind of look at exactly, because there's a huge panel. I know you're going to get your blood work done. For those of you who are listening in, Andrew joined LifeMod recently, and he's had a great response, but we're going to look specifically at your allergy levels.
At my allergy levels, because I am positive you're going to find something there.
Yes, I am too. And so, this does more harm for you in going through life, again, not knowing what you're allergic to or what you metabolize well. And let's tie this in together before we end here. Let's tie this in because this is why our program works, and this is why the other programs that we named earlier don't work. Because the other programs are giving you...
They don't work long term.
They don't work long term, yeah. And they're giving you a situation of, a decreased health instead of increased health by saying, this, what we tell you is for everybody, but they don't really know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And this is why the other programs don't really work in the long term.
Excellent. We're going to be back next week with another episode of the Life Mod Podcast. Stay tuned.
Thank you.